So let's start our little journey into Gerald Genta. You know, there are a lot of watches that he made out there. Like I said, over 100,000. The best-selling Timex was made by Gerald Genta. You know, the Bvlgari really started branding as a whole, as really putting your brand out there. We're having Bvlgari on the bezel itself. But let's go with, you know, one of the icons who I'd say, you know, was here first.
Okay.
You know, would be the Royal Oak, which is commissioned in the 70s, finally completed in 1972. This version that we have in front of you right now, 15400 ST. This one is really, really special.
Oh man, look at the light on it.
It's gorgeous.
Oof.
A grayed out boutique edition, which came out last year. I don't think they're not making many of them. It's something that you really
Hard to find.
Very, very hard to find piece.
Yeah.
What I like about the Royal Oak and what he did that was so different is first of all you have that octagon shape case, but then you have the integrated metal bracelet. You know, integrated meaning everything is seamless. The bracelet and the case look like there's no true separation there, and it's something that you can imagine in the 70s that this came out and people were like, what is this?
Yeah.
You know, a little too crazy. You know, maybe, you know, they were like, oh, AP kind of went off on the deep end, because remember, up until that time, everything was circular, nice, complicated timepiece. This was a time-only watch, full metal bracelet, and, you know, imagine if you had a very high-end, sophisticated taste clientele, and then you present this to them, of course you're gonna have a little bit of backlash.
Yeah. I mean, it took them a full year just to sell 1,000 pieces.
Insane.
Insane. And that helped them get out of bankruptcy, so they're not too mad about it. But boy, did they have no idea what they were getting with this Royal Oak design.
Yeah, you know, and again, this is something that he made, you know, over a few days, and took a long time for it to catch on. But once it did, it was really one of the propelling forces in luxury steel watches, and it brought up brands like, you know, Rolex even, to make people consider, hey, you know, a steel watch can be considered a luxury item. It can fit into certain realms. It's not just meant to be a watch just beaten up and, you know, thrown away or something like that. So he really changed the whole industry with this one watch, you know, among the many others.
So I have a question for you, just a little bit tangent, but before the Royal Oak, you know, what was Audemars Piguet's, you know, leading model?
Well, you know, before then, I don't think they really had one signature line.
Okay.
And you know, if you go back in some of the Gerald Genta history in his interviews, a lot of those older APs before the 70s were also designed by Gerald Genta. And remember, this was when, before the quartz crisis happened, brands were very much more in a different space. You know, they were the manufacturers, and they would hire nice designers, hey, make us something nice. We have this great movement. What do you think we can do with it? And they were very open to, you know, ideas from everywhere, and, you know, outsourcing, and everybody kind of helped each other because they're all, you know, from these little villages in Switzerland. After the quartz crisis, that's when it was more important to have established lines, because you couldn't take as many chances. So you needed to have one line, like the Ford F-150, always the best-selling truck, is that one consistent line that Ford knows that if they put out an F-150 every year, they're going to have a certain amount of F-150s that are going to sell. And they can play around and do a Taurus and a Fusion and things like that, but they'll always have that Ford F-150. And I think during the quartz crisis, and we'll do another episode, we kind of crack that open, but during the quartz crisis, you saw a lot of brands go away from making very small production pieces, maybe 50, 100 pieces of this, and then they switch around the dial into these kind of more like standard flagship model lines. Like this is the Royal Oak, and this is the Jules Audemars, and this is the Millenary.
So it became more about branding in a sense.
It became much more about branding, because you wanted people not only to buy into your brand, but buy into the family. And so if you had one Royal Oak when the Archers came out, you're already like, oh wow, this is a different Royal Oak. This is a Royal Oak that I can swim with. This is a Royal Oak I can have fun with. So I think definitely before that, there's so many AP models that you wouldn't recognize as AP, you know, if you didn't know what you're looking at. A lot of the Jaegers, a lot of Pateks out there, you know, 50s, 40s, that like people are still discovering to this day, you know, and then you have to really do a lot of history and talk to a lot of experts, because again, the brands were run a little bit differently back then as well. So it's very, very interesting that during this time in the 70s, he did this and really kind of disturbed the whole world, in the watch world, in a little bit of a different direction, for sure.
I gotta say, Gerald Genta was very busy in the 70s.
Yeah.
He did a lot of things that today you're like, oh, that's a cool watch. Oh, that's a cool watch.
Yeah.
Well, it was designed in the 70s.
Yeah.
And he did, what else did he do in the 70s? He did the
he did
Ingenieur.
He did the Ingenieur in the 70s. I think the Bvlgari was in the 70s as well. And remember, in between this, all these iconic brands, he's doing a bunch of one-off designs, you know, because he's, you know, at the time he's just the designs are just being bought
Yeah.
So he'd make a design, sell it. He wasn't really getting royalties, and I think later into the 70s is when he had firm contracts with like Patek Philippe and Audemars and stuff where they continuously, wrote him a check and stuff like that.
Which just helps to his legend because it's so legendary that he was so freelance that he could go wherever he wanted and have success.
Yep.
It truly is amazing and a credit to him.
Yeah, definitely. And one of the big things some super, Swiss watch nerds will get at him is that he worked for Seiko for a while. But Seiko is a brand who came with him with a good lump sum of money at the time and allowed him to keep progressing, keep creating. And while people at the time knocked him for helping out, some would say the causer of the quartz crisis, it definitely fueled his passion, which fueled the industry that we're in today.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So as we digress, let's go on to another great piece, which Jay's gonna pull out right now. This one's really special. Nautilus. This one's a 5711G. This one's really special. It's a Tiffany Co dial.
Oh man, the blue box, right?
The blue.
You get that light blue box.
You know that blue.
We
box.
should have bought the box just so they could see it.
The
Like,
problem is you bring it home, and if your wife sees it, she's gonna think,
Yes.
"Oh my gosh, honey, what did you get
Yes.
me?"
well, no, you.
And then
what are
you
telling
have
me?
to go surprise her. Oh, I got you something. I just can't show it to you now. And then
Exactly.
You bring her
Like
another.
no. You mean that you got her something first?
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Come on,
you
Rego.
really have to.
Yeah. That's more expensive.
Ladies first.
Yes.
Ladies
Because
always
this does
first.
come in a large blue box. So
Yeah,
they're gonna
it
see
does,
this
so-
and they're gonna go like, oh.
Yeah, what is it? Have that large in that box.
So you definitely gotta bring a little something first, and then you kind of hide this box and
Yeah.
take it out of the blue box.
But boy, is that beautiful.
It is a beautiful piece. This is something that the original one.